But I'm going to call to order now the Town of Dartmouth Conservation Commission meeting for Tuesday, September 26, 2024. This meeting is being conducted remotely as a result of Governor Healy on March 29, 2023, further extending the hybrid remote meeting option for municipalities, and that extension, unless further continued or memorialized, will expire, and it will expire on March 31st, 2025. The public hearings are accessible, and there's a raise your hand feature. There's a wave if everything else is failing, and you will be heard. This meeting was duly posted in accordance with town and state law, so we are conducting this meeting with more than a quorum. First items of business will be the administrative, and the first is to approve the minutes of October 22nd, 2024. I have a motion to that effect.
Second.
We have a seconded motion on the floor. Roll call vote. Liz,
Yes.
Richard,
Yes.
Megan,
Yes.
Nat.
Yes.
My vote is yes. That passes unanimously. The second administrative item is to approve the field trip reports of November 12, 2024. May I have a motion to that effect, please?
Second.
Please. We have a seconded motion on the floor. Roll call vote. Liz,
Yes.
Richard,
Yes.
Megan,
Yes.
Nat.
Yes.
My vote is yes. That passes unanimously. The third administrative item is to receive the minutes of both the open meeting and executive sessions held on November 12, 2024. May I have a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Second.
The seconded motion on the floor. Roll call vote. Liz,
Yes.
Richard,
Yes.
Megan,
Yes.
Nat.
Yes.
My vote is yes. That passes unanimously. We're moving on to our field trip report. The first field trip report is a request for determination of applicability, RDA 24-33. It's from Philip Capitan to install a Tesla Powerwall 3 on the exterior of the home, which is the locus of this request. It's land subject to coastal storm flowage, potentially in the FEMA velocity zone. It's on land described as map 121, lot 6. It's otherwise known as 2, letter B, Howland Avenue. Mark, what is staff's recommendation on this request?
Staff is recommending that this field trip report be canceled, and for the reasons that this is a rooftop solar array that is being proposed, which typically we don't take jurisdiction on because it's within the footprint of an existing structure. However, in this case, they are proposing something called a Powerwall 3 inverter located on the side of the house. They did send us specifications, and the specifications were fairly generic. They did not indicate exactly what this thing was. They were written to assume that everybody who read them understood what it was, and clearly neither I nor Eduardo understood exactly what this unit was. The best we could conclude was it was some sort of battery storage structure and possibly did some converting AC to DC and things of that nature. This is located on the side wall of the house to the exterior, so it expands the footprint. And it is a unit that is in the velocity zone. When I wrote that note, I wasn't sure, but it is in fact in the velocity zone to Uponiganset Bay. Having determined that, we raised several questions. The first question is, what is the survivability and durability of this particular unit in a saltwater storm velocity zone environment? What is its ability to withstand the inundation of periodic seawater? And what is contained in this unit in terms of chemicals should the unit rust and deteriorate and there being a release. I made a comment on the portal. I sent an email to the applicant. He indicated to me that he was going to send it to his engineering group to respond. We have yet to get a response. Having said all that, I do not think it's prudent until we know exactly what this thing is and how and if it can survive the environment that it's in. Or should they want to redesign it and put this unit above the base flood elevation of the velocity zone to Apponeganset Bay? Neither the answers to my questions nor a redesign has come forth. So at this point, and I indicated to them that I would be recommending continuance of this particular field trip report.
Okay, do we have any timetable that we have to adhere to?
We don't. I mean, I would set it for our next meeting, December 10th, and see what happens.
Okay. Any commissioner have any questions? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to continue with this request for determination of applicability until our Tuesday, December 10th, 2024 meeting, 7 p.m.
So moved.
Second on it? Second on it, roll call vote.
Second.
Liz? You're muted. We'll come back to you, Liz. You're also, looks like you're frozen. So we'll go, Richard,
Yes.
Megan,
Yes.
Nat,
Yes.
I'm a yes, and Liz, you're frozen if you can hear us. So that motion will pass unanimously. It was next. I don't know if somebody can reach out. She should come back on again.
She's trying again.
Yeah, it looks like she's trying again.
Okay. The second item is a request for determination of applicability, RDA 2434, from Ralph and Natalie Hirschhorn, care of David DeVignan, who proposed to construct a vegetation management plan, I guess, which consists of eradication of invasive plants and site grading improvements to eliminate periodic ponding within the lawn area. This property is within the 100-foot buffer zone to a coastal bank and within land subject to coastal storm flowage, FEMA velocity zone, a portion of which is an existing lawn area on land described as map 58, lot 32, is otherwise known as 25 Buzzards Bay Avenue. Recommendation for this request.
Yes, staff has inspected the site and they do have a flooding issue in their lawn. There is a depression, and what they want to do is they want to improve it to turn it into more of an infiltration basin. It is within the buffer zone to the coastal dune, but back in a lawn area. There will be no disruption to the dune itself. Beyond that, they also would like to remove several invasive plants from the dune, and I believe that's prudent, mostly Russian olive and bittersweet. DNRT will be doing the work. Their volunteer corps is going to do that, and I met with Linda Vanderveer on the dune to look at the plants in question. It's not a radical plant removal. It's not devegetation of the dune in any way, shape, or form. However, I did indicate to Linda that for every plant that they remove or they cut down and treat with a herbicide, they will be doing it with a paintbrush, bloody glove style. They are to replace that vegetation with 1 to 2 Rosa rugosa. 1 gallon potted Rosa rugosa would be suitable in this case, as opposed to our typical 3 to 5 gallon. Reason being that the vegetation on the dune is fairly low in terms of height, and a 1 gallon pot can be easily hand dug in without doing radical damage to the dune itself, whereas a 3 to 5 gallon ball would require large holes in the dune. Therefore, we are recommending a -2 determination with the condition that the Rosa rugosa replace the vegetation that's being removed.
Does any commissioner have any question? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to issue a -2 determination on RDA 24-34 with the condition that for every plant that has been removed, it be replaced with a 1 gallon Rosa rugosa bush, hand dug.
So moved.
Second.
We have a seconded motion on the floor. Roll call vote. Liz?
Yes.
Good. I'm glad to hear your voice. Richard?
Yes.
Meg?
Yes.
Nat?
Yes.
My vote is yes. That motion passes unanimously. We're moving now to our public hearings, and our first public hearing is a continued public hearing on DEP file 15-2709 AOOC 24-3. It's on the request for an amended order of conditions from Pascamasket Land Company to modify the following features on the current plan of record, FN 15-2709, to include reducing the size of the infiltration basin, to modify the steel orifice plate on the outer control structure and the basin's underground utilities. Additional work also includes installation of a portion of the parking lot, catch basin, drain manhole, and riprap flared end section associated with the underground infiltration system. The existing infiltration basin located on the westerly side of the property will be expanded, as well as modification of the steel orifice plate within the outlet control structure. This is on land described as map 65, lot 34-5. It's otherwise known as 481 Faunce Corner Road. May I have a motion to waive the reading?
Yes.
So moved.
A second, please.
Second.
Seconded motion on the floor. Roll call vote. Liz?
Yes.
Richard?
Yes.
Megan?
Yes.
Nat?
Yes.
My vote is yes. That motion passes unanimously. Mark, I understand that the applicant will need a continuance of this matter. If you will explain, that'd be helpful.
Yes, Mike, are you shifting papers again?
I might be. I think
Yeah,
I
because
was.
we're getting a lot of feedback. Yes, on this one, couple of things. This is a fairly complex redesign of some drainage features, and we are relying on DPW's drainage analysis under the site plan review process to look at this, because it's predominantly an engineering issue. They're not changing the drainage from the standpoint of water quality and discharges. It's just the way they're doing it. It's an internal thing. So the town engineering department is in fact doing the drainage review. They still have questions. They have not signed off on the drainage. Secondly, in going through the file, they never sent out certified mail return receipt to abutters, as this is an order of conditions that's being amended. They still have to do that, so they are going to get on that today, or they said they would get on it today, as I alerted them to that problem, in that we could not close the public hearing until we got certification that they did notify the abutters. Also, I had discussed with them some bank shrubbery that had not been included on the original plans. They did include it on the revised plans, which I sent to you folks I believe I sent it Friday morning. They came in late in the afternoon on Thursday. So we did get that piece, but the project is still subject to review and has to notify abutters. And therefore, for that reason, I sent them an email, the applicants an email, and indicated the problems. They sent an return email back requesting a continuance until December 10th. So that is my recommendation.
Very good. Does any commissioner have any questions? I don't see any. Is there anyone in the audience this evening who came specifically for this matter and wants to be heard tonight? Again, I don't see anyone. So I would say that this is now appropriate for us to entertain a motion to continue the hearing on DEP file 15-2709 until our next public hearing on December 10, 2024 at 7 p.m.
So moved.
Second.
Seconded motion on the floor. Roll call vote. Liz,
Yes.
Richard,
Yes.
Megan,
Yes.
Nat.
Yes.
My vote is yes. That motion passes unanimously. We're moving on to our second public hearing. It's public hearing on DEP file 15-2759, NOI 24-47. It's on the notice of intent from Roland and Suzanne Valois to repair an existing stone seawall revetment, replace wooden stairs with granite, flat stone stairs, replace a rip-rap ramp with flat granite stones to ensure adequate access for maintenance on a coastal bank. The land is described as map 88, lot 20, otherwise known as One Meadow Shores. I'll entertain a motion to waive the reading.
So moved.
Second.
Motion, seconded motions on the floor. Roll call vote. Liz,
Yes.
Richard,
Yes.
Megan,
Yes.
Nat.
Yes.
My vote is yes. That motion passes unanimously. Is there someone here this evening? I know, Alan, I think I saw you. There you are. On behalf of the Valois.
Yes, good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of the commission. For the record, my name is Alan Baru, professional civil engineer, and this evening I'm here on behalf of Roland and Suzanne Valois, owners of a single-family house at One Meadow Shores Road. We propose to repair an existing stone seawall revetment, replace wooden stairs with granite, replace a rip-rap ramp with flat granite stones to ensure adequate access for maintenance. The work is on a coastal bank within land subject to coastal storm flowage, flood zones, and the record plan is entitled Plan Showing Stone Seawall Revetment dated July 29th, 2024, revised October 18th, 2024. Photos in a sequence of construction are shown on the plan. As required, we submitted a MESA project review checklist to the Natural Heritage and Endangered Species Program, but as Mark mentioned, we have not received their review comments as of yet, as of today. The purpose of the proposed work is to stabilize the existing shoreline and minimize adverse effects on adjacent or nearby coastal beaches due to changes in wave action. The DEP file number is SE 15-2759. I'd be happy to answer your questions or share my screen if you'd like.
Thank you, Alan. Mark, I just like to hear staff's comments. Realize we have to continue it, but you may as well get out any comments that the applicant needs to hear.
Staff is fairly supportive of the proposal. It is an armored bank that has been subjected to wave action and also has been subjected to plant incursion, which is hoped to break down the wall, especially in its joints. So it definitely needs some repair. The granite ramp and the granite steps are an improvement. And staff would be recommending an order of conditions. I don't have the order with me because I knew we would be continuing it, but pretty much a standard order of conditions. Typical of when we approve coastal bank armoring projects. So we're supportive of it. We're just waiting to hear from Natural Heritage so that we can just close this out as a matter of business.
Okay. Any commissioner have any questions? I don't see any. Is there anyone in the audience who came for this particular hearing that wants to be heard this evening? I don't see anyone. So at this juncture, I think it's appropriate. I think that's a request that is reasonable, that the public hearing be continued until Tuesday, December 10, 2024 at 7 p.m.
So moved.
Second.
We have a seconded motion on the floor. Liz,
Yes.
Richard,
Yes.
Megan,
Yes.
Matt,
Yes.
my vote is yes. That motion passes unanimously. And don't go anywhere, Alan. You've got the next two.
Mhm.
So the third public hearing, excuse me, is public hearing on DEP file 15-2760 NOI, excuse me, NOI 2448. It's on the notice of intent from Douglas and Charlene Curtis to construct a 12-foot by 20-foot pool with a pool apron patio, landscape beds and pavers in the rear yard area within land subject to coastal storm flowage and the 100-foot buffer zone to the coastal bank and land under the ocean. It's on land described as map 117, lot 11. It's otherwise known as 14 Water Street. I'll entertain a motion to waive the reading.
So moved.
Second.
Second, we have a seconded motion on the floor. Roll call vote. Liz,
Yes.
Richard,
Yes.
Megan,
Yes.
Nat,
Yes.
my vote is yes. That motion passes unanimously. Alan, the floor is yours.
All right, thank you. Again, good evening. For the record, my name is Alan Baru. For this hearing, I'm here on behalf of Douglas and Charlene Curtis, owners of a single-family house at 14 Water Street. We propose to construct a 12 by 20-foot pool with a pool apron, patio, landscape beds, and pavers in the rear yard area. The lot is within land subject to coastal storm flowage flood zones and the 100-foot buffer zone to the coastal bank and land under the ocean upon Agonset Bay. The record plan is entitled Site Plan Showing Proposed Pool, dated October 18th, 2024, and revised on November 12th, 2024. We responded positively to review comments from the Department of Public Works and added a note regarding the required erosion control barrier. The DEP file number is SE 15-2760. And again, I'm happy to answer your questions or share my screen if you'd like.
Thank you, Alan. Mark, I'd like to hear staff's comments on this request.
Okay, well, as I have said on other cases like this, and this is purely a personal view, I'm not terribly in favor of pools on shoreline sites, but that's a personal view. That's not a legal view. As Alan has described, they have done, a typical job in designing an in-ground pool. I will say it's fairly close to the house as opposed to the edge of the bank, which sometimes we see them right up against the edge of the bank. And if it were a patio, I probably would have less of an issue, but I just have a thing about pools on shoreline lots. But having said all that, staff is prepared to recommend a standard order of conditions as per the site plan with the revision date of November 12th, 2024.
Thank you. Does any commissioner have any questions? I don't see any. Is there anyone in the audience this evening on this application who wants to be heard tonight? I don't see any. At this juncture, I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
We have a seconded motion on the floor. Roll call vote. Liz,
Yes.
Richard,
Yes.
Megan,
Yes.
Matt,
Yes.
my vote is yes. That motion passes unanimously. Commissioners, I'll entertain now a motion to issue a standard order of conditions on the plan dated October 18, 2024, revised November 12, 2024.
So moved.
Second.
We have a seconded motion on the floor. Roll call vote. Liz,
Yes.
Richard,
Yes.
Megan,
Yes.
Nat?
Yes.
My vote is yes. That motion passes unanimously. We're now moving to the fourth and final public hearing. It's on, it's a public hearing on DEP File 15-2761, NOI 24-49, on the notice of intent from Jason and Sherilyn DeBalsa to construct a single-family home driveway, subsurface sewage disposal system, and grading utilities within land subject to coastal storm flowage. It's on land described as map 15, lot 30-7. It's otherwise known as 34 Plainsfield Drive. I'll entertain a motion to waive the reading.
So moved.
Second.
A seconded motion. Roll call vote. Liz,
Yes.
Richard,
Yes.
Megan,
Yes.
Nat?
Yes.
My vote is yes. That motion passes unanimously. Again, Alan, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Again, for the record, my name is Alan Baru. For this hearing, I'm here on behalf of Jason and Sherilyn DeBalsi, owners of a single-family house lot at 34 Plainsfield Drive. We propose to construct a single-family house with associated driveway, subsurface sewage disposal system, grading, and utilities. The lot is within land subject to coastal storm flowage, flood zone. The record plan is entitled Subsurface Sewage Disposal System, dated October 30th, 2024, and revised November 12th, 2024. The Board of Health has approved the plan, and we responded positively to review comments from the Department of Public Works. A construction entrance and erosion control barrier are shown on the plan. The house foundation is designed in accordance with FEMA regulations and the state building code for construction in flood-prone areas. The DEP file number is SE 15-2761. And again, I'm happy to answer your questions or share my screen if you'd like.
Thank you, Alan. Mark, again, staff's comments on this application.
Yes, a little back history on this lot. The DeBalsis had requested a single-family house development. The year escapes me, but that request under a notice of intent was issued, an order of conditions under file number 15-2522. So there is a pre-existing approved use that I believe expired, and they are coming back with a new proposal, basically the same size house, slightly repositioned. Correct me if I'm wrong, Alan, but I think it's a little bit different positioning, not any more or less detrimental to the ground it's on, or the environment that surrounds it, or the off-site wetlands. And given that, staff is prepared to recommend a standard order of conditions as per the plan, also dated November 12th, 2024.
Thank you, Mark. Does any commissioner have any questions?
No.
I don't see any. Is there anyone in the audience this evening who's here for this particular hearing and wants to be heard this evening? Again, I don't see anyone. So at this juncture, I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
We have a seconded motion on the floor. Roll call vote. Liz,
Yes.
Richard,
Yes.
Megan,
Yes.
Nat?
Yes.
My vote is yes. That motion passes unanimously. Commissioners, I'll entertain a motion to issue a standard order of conditions on the planned file dated October 30, 2024, revised 11/12/2024.
So moved.
Second.
We have a seconded motion on the floor. Roll call vote. Liz,
Yes.
Richard,
Yes.
Megan,
Yes.
Nat?
Yes.
My vote is yes. That motion passes unanimously. Alan, thank you. I think you're finished for the evening.
Yes, thank you very much, and everyone have a
Thanksgiving.
wonderful, happy Thanksgiving.
You
You
got it.
too.
Okay, we're now moving on to our items for discussion, and we don't have any bills, but we have a couple of items that are actually for discussion. discussion. So Mark, you can take it away.
Okay, the first one is really brief. As everyone is aware, we still have 2 vacancies on the Conservation Commission. And while we're fortunate to have 5 people here tonight, that's not always the case. We're at a minimum quorum of 4, which may present certain issues. We need to, I mean, I've talked all through town hall to department heads. We've put notices on social media, on the legal notices on the webpage. The communications director has been very helpful. So has DCTV. We need to fill these vacancies, and we may have some terms running out at the end of June, which is 7 months away, which means that in about 10 minutes we'll have those reappointments, and not sure if everybody is going to want to be reappointed who's due. So we need to be a little bit more diligent. I did reach out to a Dartmouth resident who I've known for many years, is a former colleague of mine, wetlands consultant, does not do a lot of work in Dartmouth because she lives here. I've reached out to her several times. She was not very willing early on, but the last time I spoke to her, she seems to be a little bit more willing to consider it. And I followed up our verbal conversation with a letter this past week. So I'm hoping that we get a positive response out of her. She'd be very good. She knows her business. But just again, we need to be on top of that. And the other thing that I want to mention is that it is now November 26th. March 25th of next year, we may be meeting in person again. And that may pose difficulties to some people. I know people in business travel. So again, having these 2 vacancies could be problematic as we move along through the early part of 2025. Should the governor or the legislature determine that, virtual is still a good thing and wants to continue it, so be it. But it is the current relief that the governor has issued expires in 4 months. So we have to be wary of that too. So just an FYI, a plea.
Yeah, Mark, that last point's a very good one. Any scuttle or any talk about extending it, or just not?
Well,
not at this stage?
unfortunately, my contact decided not to run for state rep and took a shot at running for state senate and lost. So I got to look around for another contact on Beacon Hill. So I don't know. I don't have any information that way. I'm assuming this year, from an information point of view, will be different than last year.
Yeah, I haven't heard anything either. I've talked to one of our state reps on this, and he.
Mike?
Oh, good. I'm not the only one.
No.
Pretty sure my work computer just died.
Mike, are you still there?
It's funny, he's not on mute, it looks like, but
He's not muted.
clearly his camera went off. We can't hear him anymore.
A few weeks ago, I went dead and it was because of a electrical issue on the street. Very short-lived. I did come back.
I'll see if I can get hold of him.
I have spoken to about 4 or 5 people about joining, but so far, obviously, I haven't got very many positive reactions. I'll keep plugging away at it.
Well, I mean, seriously, I think that it is a problem. I don't think these positions, we're not the only board or commission suffering from this. I think Mike is trying to come back. Yeah, it's common. I mean, you see it, you have uncontested elections, there's just not the desire to fill the number of positions that are out there, whether they're elected positions or appointed voluntary positions, just isn't there. And sign
Yeah.
of the times. But I mean, we got to keep plugging. Unfortunately for me, I don't reside in Dartmouth, so I don't have my time is when I'm in town working and, I interface with people, and I've mentioned it to a few people and, no takers. So, we just gotta, we all have to collectively keep plugging because we're at a critical mass right now, but we're surviving. But one thing, changes and we could be in trouble.
Yeah, I honestly think we've just gotten lucky to this point because I'm sort of surprised we haven't had an issue given how short staffed we've been these last few months.
I agree. Let me see if I can get hold of Mike.
And for transparency, while we wait for Mike, certainly an in-person requirement isn't a showstopper for me, but it would make it more challenging.
Hello,
Yeah, Mike,
Mike.
we see you, Mike.
I'm here. Yeah, sorry about that. I don't know what the hell happened. All at once I was talking to myself.
I do it all the time.
I was gonna say it's a pretty common thing, but yeah, I gotta tell you that I've noticed in other communities, they're continuing meetings, a lot of them, for lack of a quorum. And so it's not a Dartmouth thing. I believe it's just symptomatic of people not wanting to, get involved. But yeah, I mean, it's a problem. I mean, we have to look to the future. And I got a feeling, I was talking to like I said, before I cut myself off, I guess, I was talking to a state rep and he didn't have any idea which way they were going to go with this. In fact, he hasn't heard anything about, what the sentiment is on Beacon Hill. So we may or may not have to be going to town hall in the spring, late spring, whatever it is, which is a problem. I mean, especially I remember some of our meetings, we had folks on vacation in the lobby of the hotels calling in, commissioners, that is, calling in. So we could have a quorum. So we really do have to think long and hard about what we're doing. Otherwise, there's going to be more than a few meetings that are going to be continued due to lack of a quorum.
And Mike, you said you spoke to a state rep and he wasn't sure. In the past, this has been a last minute thing. This is not on anybody's radar. I don't think it's on anybody's radar screen, except maybe some clerk who has a list of legislative things that have to be done. And I think my understanding is that it sits really in the Attorney General's office, because I think the legislature can make the law. The Attorney General has to determine whether it's legal or not. And I suspect that we won't know anything until the earliest, a couple of weeks before the 31st. So, over the next month, I'm going to be preparing a schedule for, next year going into July. And I'm going to have to take that into account. And we're going to have to find a room. We're going to have to, from our end, we have to re-administer at our end, but from your end as commissioners, you have to get to town hall, and that, given the way our lifestyles, that's a little bit more difficult than it used to be. So yeah, I suspect that it could be a problem and it's one or two who can't make it, and you say, when you have a 7-member board, it's no big deal. When you have a 5-member board, it's big deal.
Absolutely a big deal.
Does the
Yeah.
time have to change? I think that's an important thing to look at too. You know, I commute an hour to my office, but 7 o'clock would be no issue for me to attend in person. If we move it any earlier, that's going to create a problem. Just things to consider.
Well, I think we stay at 7, Liz, because of that. I mean, because people have to drive to and from work. I mean, there are a lot of boards when all of their members are local. They're boards that are meeting at 5:30. So that they're not going to 9, 10 o'clock at night. We don't have that luxury because we have people who are traveling about. So time. We can always change the time, but at this point, it's really about the membership. And I think 7 o'clock is more attractive to people who commute to and from Dartmouth than 5:30 or 6 o'clock.
Agree.
And I've been on the commission now longer than I'd want to admit, and it's always been 7 o'clock. So I think even for the professionals who come before us, they're used to our meeting being at 7 o'clock.
That's good.
I don't see that changing, Liz. I just don't see it. There's no urgency to change it any earlier. And frankly, I think we made it any later, we'd be here until midnight. So
Agree.
So anyway, that's just it on commission vacancies. We really need to work to try to fill these. Get one, preferably two. Let's work on one first, though, and go from there. The second discussion point is the wetland regs. We had a discussion on the 12th, and we covered a couple of things. And I did send out an email back on the 14th. And in terms of the issue of continuances and extensions, I think the bylaw revisions covers it. We just have to be much more dutiful in enforcing, the timeframes that are in the bylaw. And I think we're covered. That would save us from, protracted extension upon extension upon extension, or continuance upon continuance upon continuance. I think we all need to be a little bit more diligent about that. The third item I had on it, we were talking about setting a number, a minimal threshold for freshwater wetlands, the size of freshwater wetlands. And I had originally said 2,500, then I said 1,000, and I was kind of vacillating between the two of them. And then it dawned on me, I don't know why I didn't think of this sooner. This State Wetlands Protection Act has a minimum threshold of jurisdiction of greater than or equal to 500 square feet for bordering vegetated wetlands. And I said, well, there's your answer. We could and should be consistent with the Wetlands Protection Act. So I would recommend the language in section A. I rewrote that section as a draft, and I sent it to you folks. It says jurisdiction, freshwater wetlands as defined in the bylaw shall only be jurisdictional when they meet the definitional standards and are of a minimum contiguous surface area of greater than equal to 500 square feet, unless such areas meet the definition standards but lack the size requirement, fall within such overlays as priority or estimated habitats, aquifer protection districts, land subject to flooding, or supports certified or potential vernal pools. I thought that adding those resources in would strengthen our ability to look at things that are smaller, that are really significant because of other factors and other features. So those were my comments, and I did receive several comments from Liz, which kind of agreed, and correct me if I'm wrong, Liz, with some of the things on continuances and extensions. I'm adding, you did have some highlighted comments. Where are we?
I'm looking for it too. Bear with me.
I've got the pages here. Page 2, you had under conditions, you requested adding language, any activity as cited in the activity definition of the bylaw. Then under department, you had a comment, this is on page 2. If this is the only definition used in the regulations for department, then my suggestion would be to change the title to Mass DEP to avoid any ambiguity about it when it shows up further language. My comment on that is the department is, even though it's Mass DEP, the department has always been the department.
Okay.
They call themselves the department. I mean,
All right. I wasn't sure if that was like
kind
unanimously
of
understood.
common parlance. Then under both land subject to coastal storm flowage and land subject to flooding on page 3, Liz's comments were to add some language. I cite the 100-year storm or the 1% storm event, and Liz's comment was to add as defined by the National Flood Insurance Program, as to remain consistent with the wording in the bylaw. So that seems very reasonable.
Well, while you're on that page, I think that's reasonable. What is a zone of saturation in groundwater? That was when I sent mine only this afternoon, but when I sent my comments, that was my question on that definition. It says zone of saturation, but I didn't see any defined term describing what is-
Zone of saturation is not a regulatory term. It's a scientific term.
Okay.
It's basically, the simplest way to put it is you have soil with grains and air spaces, and this zone of saturation is when those air spaces are filled with water, which is basically the water table. It is groundwater versus and it's I feel kind of stupid. I forget what zone of a zone of aeration, I think it is, where you have the particles and the air spaces, and there is no water in the air spaces. So that's the difference.
Okay.
That it's a scientific definition.
Okay. Gotcha.
And I think that was a carryover too. I mean,
It may well have been. I just didn't,
Yeah.
when I read it, I didn't know what it meant. So I was like,
yep.
you just
Yep.
described to me what it meant. I had an idea, but I wasn't sure.
And then on page 4 under recreation, we have a definition of what that means, and Liz suggested to add alternative vehicle use to the list of non-commercial activities. We could do that. I guess it was never put in because it's not considered passive recreation, whereas everything there listed is considered passive recreation. But we
Okay.
could add it.
I've got a couple of comments on that page. So on the plan of record, so I just my change would be plan of record means the final plan approved by the commission, which
Oh,
is
wait a minute, you're on the previous page?
no, I'm on 4. Plan of record. You were just
Mine
correct.
says plan of record on page 3, but go ahead. I have it.
All right, well, I printed it this way, but anyway, it says means the final plan approved by the commission, which is referenced in, I put a determination, permit, or an order issued under the Wetlands Protection Act. I just added those terms.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one, yeah.
And
Determination, permit,
permit or an order.
yep, I agree.
Okay, and then unqualified, I just said means one who is officially certified, licensed, recognized, or credentialed by the appropriate
Wait a
authority.
minute, say that again, means ones who's officially licensed?
Certified,
Certified?
licensed, recognized, or credentialed by the appropriate authority as being trained to perform a particular job.
Okay. And then page 13, extension permit. Liz suggested it is at the discretion of the commission to alter the extension duration of a permit if there's a reasonable evidence that supports a shorter time frame.
Yep, I agree with that. I have a, if you want to go back a little bit to
Go
me
ahead.
on number, mine's on page 6. God only knows where it is. But under section E procedures, number 1, written requests, the last
Whoa, 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 whoa.
Yeah, slow down.
section E.
I
procedures.
got a gazillion copies of stuff here, so give me,
Okay. No, it's
okay, so where are you?
I'm on
What's that?
section E, number 1, written requests, which comes right before emergencies. And
Okay,
then,
written requests, I got it.
and then I put down licensed aquaculture projects are exempt from any application for permits to or determinations. I put down from the commission.
Okay, wait a minute.
Because I don't want to confuse people. We're only the commission. may
Okay,
have
wait a
other-
minute. Licensed aquaculture projects are exempt from any application for,
Permits to or determinations from the commission.
for permits.
So it's applications to, or applications for permits to, or from, or determinations from the commission. So I just want to be sure that it's only from us that they're exempt. I don't know if they're exempt from everyone else. So I want to be real clear on that. That does, I don't want people to get
Okay, I got
mistaken,
it.
believe it's just us. And then on emergencies, B, it says the request can be made orally, in writing, or electronically, but if oral, it must be confirmed by written notice within 48 hours. And I'm thinking 48 hours of commencing the work. Okay, so, you got to let us know within 2 days, basically, of starting your work.
But doesn't it
And
say
then-
that already? Sorry.
Yeah, it is already in there.
I don't know is that what it said? That's what it says, 48 hours of commencing work, I'm fine.
No, it
Yeah, it
says
says-
written
Of work
notice within
commenced.
48 hours of work commenced.
Well, it's the same thing then, I guess, that's no problem, leave it the way it is. Then
Okay,
on C, I put down a little different. I said an emergency certification may, not shall, may be issued only for an immediate protection, because you put the word shall in there, we don't have any discretion, we have to issue it.
wait a minute. Where are we? C?
Well, it's E, I'm sorry,
No,
E,
E. An emergency certification.
should be may, because that's still a determination, right? We have to determine it. If you put down the word shall, we don't have determination, we have to issue it.
Well, I think we do have to issue it. The certification comes after. Okay, there's the oral,
Right,
we say,
it's
yeah,
good.
go ahead and do it. But then we have to issue a written.
Well, I guess I'm perplexed then. If we have to do it, then why do we have a meeting? Why we have, it's like we vote on what? We're forced to do it. There's no reason to vote. You can't vote not to do it. I'm just confused then. I just, maybe it's me.
Well, I think.
We still have to document it though, that it's been done and what's been done.
Yeah.
I think this
Right.
is actually in the wrong order. I think where E should go is probably
4C.
should probably be B.
Yeah.
That's what I think.
Okay,
Because D is real, you're right. D is the permit application within 45 days. Okay, so I
Yep.
think E as
That makes
written should be moved to B. And then this becomes C, D, and E, like that. Yep, okay, that makes more sense.
Then I had a question. And this is on request for a wetland site inspection, right?
Yeah,
So the very last paragraph, C, it says that the wetland site inspection, the WSI, expires 3 years from date of issuance as documented. However, the expiration date does not invalidate the on-the-ground conditions and therefore must be revisited. My comment was I didn't understand it. I
okay,
thought the WSI was discretionary. You're recommending they do it, but they don't have to. They can go directly to a request for determination of applicability or issue or file a notice of intent for an order of conditions. And it's only those two which are binding on the commission. I mean, if you went out on a wetland site inspection and 5 years later, they requested a determination of applicability, that's probably worthless that you went out on the site inspection 5 years earlier.
that's their problem.
That's their problem.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering why we even have it in there. Because I
The
don't think
reason we have it in there, and I can give you an example, but this does not pertain to that, is think of our enforcement issue at 51 Abner Potter Way. We have documents that expired 25 years ago. And the complainant or the defendant in this case has said, well, they said it isn't a wetland. Well, yeah, but somebody did say it was a wetland. And all this is saying is once the document expires, the wetlands don't go away. The acknowledgement of the wetlands goes away as it expires, but the on-the-ground conditions are the same. If I go out there 3 years and a week later, I'm probably going to see the wetlands. Okay. And they're still there. And if you do something because you say, well, that expired, therefore the wetlands go away. No, they didn't. That document went away, acknowledging the wetlands.
Okay.
So the on-the-ground conditions means that the wetland is there in perpetuity. The instrument only has a life of 3 years.
Okay, that's where I guess I'm getting a little bit confused. The wetland site inspection is not required. So what instrument are you going to issue other than just going out on site and like verbally saying, okay, it looks okay, file your determination for request of applicability, we'll probably issue a negative. Okay. I don't know why that's just like, it's like your reviewers meetings, right? I mean, a lot of things are said at a reviewers meeting, but you can't hold the town
Well,
to having, you know what I'm saying?
I know exactly what you're saying. And, I've had an issue with wetland site inspections because I don't know, as you're saying, what do they give you? Was at the end of the day, all that is a conservation agent from the town of Dartmouth goes out and flags wetlands that are their opinion.
Right.
And that's all that's in the field. It's not a line of record. It's not a legal line that is approved under an order or a determination. Therefore, it's only an opinion piece. Now, I didn't set this program up. I wasn't here when it was set up, so I can't defend its merits. I can criticize it because I think it's really a lot of duplication. I think the effort was to assist small projects, and I'll use septic repairs or septic, new septic systems, whereby instead of having to get a delineator to go out there and engineered plans and the like, the town, was able to provide applicants with a simplified line that the Board of Health would accept for setbacks from, for septic systems. It is not a line where you can go and say, well, I have a wetland line of record, for whatever, building a road, building a driveway, building a house. It's not for that. It's a,
Well, I guess maybe we have I see what you're saying and I completely get it. But I think maybe a solution to that would be to say, have something, if you issue something like that, a WSI, maybe you should state, this is not a substitute for a delineation or for determination of applicability.
well, it is a delineation, okay? A delineation is not a legal term in my understanding.
All right.
The determination, the NRAD order, or a notice of intent, an order of conditions, is what establishes the line of record. That is the legal line of record. The WSI just provides a wetland delineation that is probably approvable by the conservation agent, since they put it up there, and therefore probably approvable by the Conservation Commission, should they go out and ask for an order or determination. It avoids in the small project situation, them having to hire a professional at, X number of dollars an hour. We charge $250. Nobody is doing wetland delineations on small properties for $250.
Right.
Just isn't happening. Their wetland delineation is going to cost upwards of $1,000 to get a professional to do it.
I understand that. I guess one of the things that the tension in my view on this is no matter what, the WSI isn't binding on the commission. So this almost makes it seem like it is for 3 years binding on the commission.
Well, no, the 3 years it's binding on itself. It has a 3-year life of itself. When they come in and they say, hey, we did a wetland site inspection 5 years ago, we say, too old. You people never see that. It's not that's a service that the staff provides.
All right. Well, I mean, that was my comment. I mean, I didn't really say it had to be out. I just didn't understand it. But I guess I'm still struggling a little bit with it. I hear what you're saying. I don't think we'll be able to resolve that. I'm still confused. I'm not exactly unconfused as I was with the others. But we can move on. My number 5 on the application for permit. 5B says sufficient information shall be submitted. I inserted the language by the applicant because I want to be clear. We're not going to provide the information for you. And then number 6, departmental notification. You're talking about, there might be, says, well, I have this, I put down, an application received under this bylaw is subject to municipal department review through the online permitting portal for those, and I put the words municipal departments with access. And I want to be clear that we're talking about municipal departments having access, not the applicants having access. For any department without access, that was fine. And then you talk about unforeseen circumstances. And my feeling would be the last sentence should be unforeseen circumstances shall be handled on a case-by-case basis. Leave it at that. I don't think you need to explain what unforeseen circumstances are in the regulations. Just say, well, let's look at it case by case. On number 7, 2, You have all applications for permits on or determination shall require the applicant to sign a 21-day waiver to hold the public hearing. That should be at the end of it. Then the rest of it, we don't really need to say. Given current workload, staff we don't have to tell them why. We're just telling you you're going to have to do it, because otherwise we're going to have to revise this if that changes. So in my view, and I don't want to put in, we're always going to try to do the utmost to get things conducted. And I don't think you need to put that in. And I will say one other thing. That 21-day waiver that's required here comes back later on, where we're talking about the 21-day waiver and the period, etc. And I'm thinking we already asked them to sign it. So anyway, I'll get there in a moment, but that does come up again. And then I'm trying to get this before we get to the next Liz comment, which comes later. Under submittal requirements B, so we have required information, and then it says contains the following. And I think that required information should be sequentially with 1 and 2, which started with A. So you have A, these are the requirements. In addition to the requirements of 310 CMR 10.99, the following are going to be required. 1 and 2. Well, I think we should keep on going and say 1 through 17 should be 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 to 19.
Mike, you totally lost me.
Okay, on number 7, submittal requirements, you have an A.
I'm there.
It says, in addition to the requirements of 310 CMR, blah, 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 plan shall include. You have 2 things, 1 and 2. Then it says required information, and it says plan shall contain the following information. I just think 1 through 17 of B should be 3 through 19 of A, because
Right,
it's
so
all talking about the same thing.
So you take out section B, the
just-
text,
yeah.
and then just continue it numerically.
Correct.
I got it.
I just think it's easier to follow. It seems almost like it was something.
Again, this was pre-formatted. I don't know why it was done. That was an area I didn't change.
And I think I'm going to skip. I made a comment on a butter notification. I'm going to skip it because I did that as I was reading it, and I think it comes up later on to solve the problem that I was worried about. So, on fees, number 1, I would delete the sentence that says the fees have been determined by the commission to be commensurate with the expenses of providing these review services to applicants. Just take it out. We're putting the fees together. We don't have to explain to them why.
Where are you, Mike?
Fees, which was C. On mine, it's page 12. I don't know what it is on yours, but
So we're skipping the butters notifications.
yeah, I'm okay with skipping that.
We're
I think
skipping stormwater management guidelines. Oh, fees. Here we are. Okay, I got it. Yep.
Yeah.
Where are you?
so. Well, actually, if you go to stormwater management, I guess what I would probably do is take out the very last sentence, which says, even though facilities may be provided to attenuate the rate of discharge from upslope development, it will still cause an increase in the volume of runoff. I just take it out. We just said we're going to require design of the attenuation facilities, consider the development. I think we're fine with that. I don't think we have to explain why we want something.
Okay.
So then I'm down to fees. Okay. And I think I'd take out the language that says, it's the second to last sentence. These filing fees have been determined to be commensurate with the expense of providing the services. I just think we are opening ourselves up to somebody challenging our fees to say, just like they did with the cannabis things now, where towns aren't getting the windfall like they thought they were going to get because the services that they were supposedly going to increase the town's budget by, they haven't materialized. So I think what you just take that out. We don't have to explain why. We just are saying, the fees may be amended as necessary by a majority vote. That's fine. We're setting the fees. These are the fees you got to pay. We don't have to tell you how we calculated them or why. And
So we're taking out the last two sentences.
yeah, well,
I wouldn't
no,
take
I
it
think
to
the
wetlands
very
protection.
last sentence is fine. That says I just changed the beginning, so it's a complete sentence. It says, these fees may be amended as necessary by majority vote of the commission at any public hearing. That I'd keep in there. It's the sentence before where we're trying to explain to them what the fees are supposed to do. I don't think we need to do that. We're just giving gratuitous reasons for them to challenge the fee.
So these fees may be amended as necessary.
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
And then on the fees portion, number 2, this is alluding to what I said before. So if you look at the third sentence, it says, once the file is complete, the 21-day time period for action will begin unless waived by the applicant in conformance with E1 of these regulations. Well, we're saying earlier on, they have to waive it when they file.
Okay,
This makes it seem like
yeah,
it's
yeah, I
like it's
see it,
an
I
option.
see it.
So and then I don't know if we do this, Mark, on fees, but maybe we do. So if we do, I think this should be added. It's in 3. I would add it at the end of the first full paragraph of 3 to say the applicant shall be required to replenish the so-called consultant fee monies if the initial amount is insufficient to cover the amounts billed by the consultant. I don't know if we do that or not, because we're only guessing.
Yes, we do, yes, we do. The applicant shall
Be required
be required
to replenish the so-called consultant
to
fee.
required to replenish.
The so-called consultant fee.
Why
monies.
are we saying so-called? Why don't we just say the consultant fees?
Well, because I don't see we can
It's
say
in the
that.
bylaw, it's in the bylaw.
Okay, use that then, because I was trying to grab it from the sentence before where we say the consultant's fee monies shall be deposited. So I just was trying to be if consultant's fees are fine with me, it's cleaner.
To replenish the consultant fees.
If the initial amount, and I just put is insufficient to cover the amounts billed by the consultant. So I think we're not trying to make money on them. We just don't want to lose money on them.
Billed by the consultant.
Yep.
Okay,
And that brings us to number 4 in that same subparagraph. So I'm fine with, the commission will notify, blah, blah, blah. It says of such estimated consultant fee. And instead of saying or, I'd say and additions there too. Instead of an or, make it an and. And then I put a period right after that and take the rest of it out. We're
put a
going to
period after what? And
or
additions,
additions there too. And additions there too.
period.
Because first of all, the next part of the sentence says we're going to deposit the same into an account. Well, what kind of an account? What account? Obviously we're going to do something with the money once we get it, but I don't think that helps because it's almost implying it's going into an escrow account, which I'm sure it's not.
Oh, it's going into a consultant account.
Now, you have access to the property on number 8. And it's good up to a point, but you have if the applicant does not wish to be represented at site. And I wanted to add after that, or if a mutually acceptable time to meet at site is not agreed upon, then, okay, because we left out what happens if he comes up or they come up with a time and a date. It's not good for you. You come up with times and date, not good for them. And you go back and forth and around Red Robin's barn. At some point, you got to go out there.
Okay, so if the applicant does not wish to be represented at the site, comma, what?
Or a mutually acceptable time and date to meet at the site is not agreed upon. That way you cover the situation where you don't come to an agreement. They haven't said they don't want to be represented, but they're making it hard on you because they're purposefully not agreeing with you.
So meet at the site, comma, then the site visit will be made at the commission's convenience.
You got it.
Yep.
Okay. I'm gonna keep going here. Okay, now we're at Liz's comment, the extension of a permit. So there we are, we're there.
Get there. Yeah, so I had at the bottom of the first paragraph to add in the language. It is at the discretion of the commission to alter the extension duration of a permit if there is reasonable evidence that supports a shorter time frame lesser than 3 years.
Mhm.
And then again in the second paragraph, just to mirror what I said in the first one, in determining whether to issue an extension permit, the commission may consider the following factors as reason to deny or alter the duration of an extension.
Yeah, I think that's fine. I think the only thing I would add to that would be to alter the requested extension duration of a permit or alter the requested duration of on the next, because I think we can go up to 3 years. So we could issue anything we want up to 3 years. Most of the time, the applicants are requesting the maximum. They're asking for 3 years. So I think by saying that, you're giving us the ability to not only deny it, but also to give them less than they asked for.
So Mike, are you comfortable with the language as written, or were you making an edit to that language?
I think I was making a slight edit to that one.
Right,
Says, so it would be a discretion of the commission to alter the requested extension duration of a permit. And then in the next highlight, or alter the requested duration of an extension.
Yeah, I agree.
But I think that Liz's comments really did help that paragraph.
okay, and then her last comment was to amend the surface area to align with state regulation, which was what I read to you early on about, if we're going to put a threshold on it, then it would be easier to be consistent with the state than to go off on our own with a number.
Agreed.
Okay. And the last thing, and I don't want to forget this, way back when, on page 1 of the regulations, under the definition of aesthetics,
Yep.
Richard had said to me, the original read, aesthetics means the visual appearance, appropriateness, intrinsic quality of an activity as it relates to the site setting, ... Richard suggested that after intrinsic quality, I add as well as other relevant factors of an activity. And I believe he commented on my wonderful legal ambiguity in my language.
I wouldn't do that.
Yes,
you
you would. You absolutely would. So that was that was the one that was in red on page 1.
Okay,
So is everybody, well, I guess my question is everybody comfortable with what we've done?
I think I'm comfortable with that.
I just had one question on, I'm comfortable, but on the 500 square feet, does it make any sense to just somehow tie the language to Mass DEP? So that if it changes, we're in sync, or do we just say 500?
I think we just say 500. It's,
Okay. Okay.
I mean, we're concurring with them, you know.
Yeah,
so-
yeah. Okay. I mean, I imagine
Okay,
that doesn't
so-
change very often anyway, so it's probably not
Right.
a risk,
So
yeah.
the second question that comes with this is, as I understand the way the process should go, we finalize this document, which I've got these comments. I'd like to vote on these changes being the final changes. I can certainly send a copy to Mike if he wants one last crack at looking at it. And I'll put the changes in a different color so you can see where we did it, why we did it. Once I hear back from Mike, if everybody else is comfortable with this, then we need to schedule a public hearing to allow the public or the consulting public to make comments. We did this for the bylaw. We had one person show up, made one comment. It was incorporated and we moved on to dealing with town council. And that's where I think we are. And I would like to shoot for, and I don't have the date in front of me, but I want to say the first public hearing date in January. Get through the holidays, start the new year, and we'll have a public hearing for the public to comment on this. I don't believe we're going to get a lot of comments, but and we also allow them to send written comments in, which I think actually our last commenter actually did send them in writing. So if everybody's comfortable with that, that's the target I'm going to shoot for. Once we get that, then we can proceed to get this to town council for their review, which could be lengthy. I don't know. And then we have to go in front of the select board. We don't have to go in front of town meeting, but we have to go in front of the select board to get their blessing on it, and then we're good to go. So I'm seeing this as extending out into the spring, maybe even approaching the summer, depending on how long town council wants to ruminate over this.
Okay, yeah, I think you're right, but I think that's a good plan going forward. I think that's the right sequence and the right
Okay.
time.
All right. So do you guys want to vote on this? I don't, however you want to go, authorizing me to make these changes, or a verbal is fine with me.
I'd go vote. I'll entertain a motion to authorize Mark to make the changes to the rules, regulations that were promulgated and submitted by email for our consideration.
So moved.
Second.
We have a seconded motion. We'll do a roll call vote. Liz,
Yes.
Richard,
Yes.
Megan,
yes,
Nat.
Yes.
My vote is yes. That passes unanimously.
Okay, the last item I have, I sent you a copy of a draft letter which the select board would like to send off to DEP regarding the whole issue of TMDLs and mandated requirements of the town to meet certain pollution standards under water quality of our coastal embayments. This has been a topic that has been raging for a while because, as some or all of you know, they have been setting total daily maximum limit thresholds of discharges of nitrogen and bacteria into our coastal waters. There is one currently in draft for Ponegasset Bay. There is one that has been issued for the Slocum River. And DEP is kind of taking this. This is all tied together with the Title V issues that we've been dealing with. And DEP has been taking the position that they want to attack this, single lot by single lot or section by section, and they're not really evaluating the overall contributions of regional watershed contributors. And we have a situation here in Dartmouth where we are being mandated by DEP to get our water quality below these thresholds, which certain professionals, including myself, question the legitimacy of those thresholds since they're based on very old data sets and they do not reflect changes in the watersheds. Nonetheless, these TMDLs are being assigned and mandated that we meet. And basically the goal is they want every town to sewer themselves, so that there's no septic systems, there's no discharges, non-point discharges, which is not reality. It's never going to happen. No town can afford it, especially rural communities or quasi-rural communities like Dartmouth, which is undergoing rapid urbanization. The other issue that we have is that Dartmouth, as well as a lot of the South Coast towns, have state-permitted composting sites for food waste and agricultural waste, namely cranberries. And there are huge discharges, uncontrolled discharges, because the people who have these permits are not really managing their sites very well. And because they're state permits, we have no control over issuing enforcement or regulating what they do. And there's a competition going on between MDAR, which is the MDAR is Mass Department of Agricultural Resources, who composting has fallen within their definition or their jurisdiction and their definitions, which are really impacting discharge sites. And DEP, the regulators, saying, oh, town of Dartmouth, you're polluting your waters. Okay, that's the simple discussion of what's going on. The select board, through the Board of Health, and I believe the Waterways Committee, we were not directly involved, although much of what's in this letter I concur with, and some of which I actually wrote in a previous iteration for another argument, is petitioning DEP to reevaluate what they're doing within a more practical and relevant context. And that context largely being the allowance of composting, agricultural composting in these sensitive watersheds, especially low in the watersheds, of which Dartmouth is the end of watersheds. Okay, we are the lowlands. We open up to the bay, and there's this concern about protecting Buzzards Bay. There's concern about protecting the tidal estuaries of Buzzards Bay, all very valid concerns. I'm not minimizing them, but the approach that's been taken is extremely impractical and is going to be extremely costly, and most communities are not going to meet it. So the select board, with the help of some professionals, put together this letter. And what they're asking the commission to do is to vote to support to sign a signature sheet when this letter is finalized, and it's 90% there, in support of this initiative to make it a townwide initiative, not just the select board or not just the Board of Health. I tried to make that as simple as possible.
Well, I guess, from what I've taken from it, you're concurring with the theories and the statements of the letter. It seems to me that I trust your opinion on this being something that is important for the town and that the position the town's taking is justifiable. So although we don't directly have a horse in this race,
Well,
I
we
mean,
actually
I mean-
do, Mike, we actually do, and I've taken this up with some people. Water quality issues are at face value, public health issues and things of that nature. However, when you're talking about algae growth, when you're talking about eelgrass, those then become our resources. When I say our resources, your resources. And you have jurisdiction over those resources. So I think my protest is why we hadn't been brought into this particular process sooner. But having said that, and in reading the letter contains several things that I have written, or the letter paraphrases a lot of things that I've written and a lot of things I've said in public forum, and I support them. I believe they're accurate.
all right. So
So I think there is a jurisdictional piece to this, maybe a little indirect, but it's certain we have standing here, more standing than we've been given, but we have standing here.
well, I would support that. And, it sounds, it's reasonable request to ask. I don't want to go into and don't pretend to know why we weren't involved from the beginning, but we weren't. That's what I meant when I said we have no horse in the race. We weren't formally brought into this, but I do think I feel we can support this. Anyone else have any comments on that? You want to be heard on it? Contrary positions? There may well be.
I'm in favor of it.
So, I mean, do you want that as a vote, Mark, or how do you want?
I would
this?
like that as a vote, yes. I'm requesting it as a vote.
All right, I'll entertain a motion to have the commission sign a signature page of a letter that the select board and Board of Health are writing to Mass Department of Environmental Protection, signifying our solidarity with their position.
So moved.
Second,
Okay, roll call vote. Liz,
Yes.
Richard,
yes.
Megan,
yes,
Nat,
Yes.
my vote is yes. That motion passes unanimously.
Thank you very much, and that's it for me.
I have nothing new to add. Does any other commissioner have something? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
A second.
Second.
Seconded motion, roll call vote. Liz,
Yes.
Richard,
Yes.
Megan,
yes.
Nat,
Yes.
my vote is yes. That motion passes. Before I leave, happy Thanksgiving to everyone.
Happy
Yes, happy
Thanksgiving,
Happy
everybody.
Thanksgiving, everybody.
Happy Thanksgiving, everyone.